Welcome to the SBCA podcast, Component Connection, where we explore the people, ideas, trends, and innovations shaping the market and the future of structural building components. Whether you're on the shop floor, in the office, in the yard, or out in the field, we're glad you're here.
Hello, I'm Molly Butz, Managing Director for SBCA, and I'll be your host for this episode of Component Connection, Lumber Insights. I'm joined today by Justin Binning and Ken Timmins. Justin and Ken are lumber traders from American International Forest Products, or AIFP. Welcome to the podcast, gentlemen.
Thanks, Molly.
Hey there, Molly. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I want to ask you how you are, but unfortunately, I know you're both a little under the weather, so I really appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
It's that time of the year. I feel like everybody gets, you either pick Thanksgiving or Christmas, and you either get one or both.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, we both got lucky and caught it last week.
Yeah, sorry. That probably put a little bit of a damper on your Thanksgiving holiday, but hopefully you got to have some turkey and some family and a little bit of fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a great time. Nice to be away for a couple of days. One thing Justin always says that he appreciates about the industry, which I agree with, is it's an industry that knows how to take a holiday seriously. Right, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or the 4th of July, most people are in pretty solid agreement that, you know, we're going to take a couple days, throw our arms around some family, appreciate each other, and enjoy a little time away, which
No order sneakers there.
yeah. Yes, exactly. So it was nice. There's a lot of good, I don't know, I'm pretty simple. Just sit down, hang with family, eat some food and college football. So
Perfect.
it was a good week in my house.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, super blessed, super grateful. And if you're going to be sick, it's kind of a catch-22. It's like sucks to be having some time off and have to be sick, but at the same time, it's like thankful that
You didn't have to be at work, right?
yeah, 100%.
Well, I hope that the lumber market's been feeling a little better than the two of you are, but it's been about 5 weeks since we last met, which seems like a crazy amount of time. So give us a little bit of a recap of what's been happening in your world.
Lumber market's been a wild little ride, mostly gently down. If I can remember back to when we recorded right before Halloween, I believe I said the market is as enthusiastic as a 5-year-old who's wearing their Halloween costume and you just asked them to put a jacket over the top of it. I think it's how I described it. And really since then, through November, the market was very unenthusiastic still, kind of continued its true, kind of festively falling leaf pattern of gently going lower and lower across most products. Obviously, that's a big generalization to talk about a lot of different things. The Thanksgiving holiday, that kind of half week, a lot of people in the industry see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was quiet. There were a few people who stepped in and bought significant amounts of wood, but nothing that would cause moving and shaking within price or availability. Bigger than the purchases we saw the first 3 weeks of November, but nothing too insane. This is the first week of December. It's been very measured so far, but typically most people do their month-end inventory, first week of the month, touch base with the managers, bosses, see what you think about where you're at, start making plans. In most months, buying tends to start happening 9th, 10th, 11th of the month. Very typical. I think December is a little bit different than some of the other months of the year, mostly because the lumber industry in general, or construction industry, you could even say, tends to be a little optimistic to a fault. Everybody always thinks they're going to do a little bit better the following year. It's funny. I mean, our organization is about 450 traders, and there's plenty of other organizations across the U.S. and the world. And I would be hard-pressed to think almost every commodity trader is going to look back on 2025 and think about 26 and say to themselves, okay, I'm going to buy it cheaper and I'm going to sell it higher and I'm going to do more trades. Everybody says it to themselves. It's like, well, duh. It's the same way on January 1st. You say, okay, I'm going to eat healthier and I'm going to move more and I'm going to get more sleep. It's like, oh, yeah, when you put it on paper, easiest thing on earth. And everyone thinks that. With that mentality, a lot of people kind of roll into January a little extra euphoric, a little more upbeat, a little more excited to do business. Therefore, January every year is always a robust month for us on the trading floor. It's a restocking month. A lot of people drive their inventory down to nearly nothing at the end of the year, really get their, balance sheets in line where they want it and that sort of thing. So I do anticipate middle of December, there's going to be kind of a flurry of buying. And a lot of people not necessarily component manufacturers, but a lot of people buy rail cars that arrive after the first of the year. So there's going to be that going on. Typically December 14th, 15th, week of the 22nd. Those are typically pretty big times. Or even for, some people, if you're running your own business, might want to buy extra inventory so you have higher costs and, can kind of run your business at a net operating loss for tax purposes. A lot of people do that. So I expect the first half of December is going to be very lethargic. Second half of December is going to be energetic, certainly. No, there's going to be some quiet days in there too, but the typical trade size will be larger than normal, right? Like, people talk about like cart size. If you go to a store or if you're online shopping, I think the cart size of a lumber trade will be a heavier dollar amount than we've been seeing. So kind of running through, demand has been solid. I do expect component manufacturers specifically will be a little quieter in purchasing for the second half of December. Typically, we see more activity with people who we'd refer to as jobbers, who are building hotels, schools, senior living facilities, dorms, multifamily style people tend to participate more in the back half of December. Production's been very measured from my desk out of the West. No major production curtailments being announced. Little bits and pieces here, but nothing significant. And I think a lot of mills are kind of holding on, like we've been talking about for the last year and a half, frankly. Right. There's a lot of that going on, and I am of the camp that 2026 will be better than 25. And I think a lot of people are just kind of waiting for things to get a little bit better, just doing what they can to reduce losses and be around for when things are solid. We talked about December. We talked about January. Mm-hmm. February is an interesting month, looking a little further down the road. Typically, in my experience, February is a pretty harsh trading environment. And I believe that's because a lot of people go for it, swing hard the back end of December. People are excited in January. And then February is still a heavy winter storm month across the country. We might have an ice storm from Chicago to New York. The West is plagued with rain. All sorts of stuff could happen. And even the South could be socked in with harsh weather too, floods and whatnot. So people get excited in January. Typically February, we're not ready for the spring build. And demand typically doesn't match production. And we come off in February most years. Now, that could be different this year if 2026 really is a little bit sharper in terms of mortgage rates, interest rates, availability of homes due to higher wages. Those sort of macroeconomic factors could make February better this year. But overall, I expect it to be a down month in terms of pricing. So that being said, if you are someone who's going to swing the bat in December, that's cool. 30 to 45 days tops. I wouldn't go above 45 days no matter what. It's just an unnecessary bite size. Logistics are interesting right now. Rail's super easy because nobody wants rail cars. Everybody wants trucks. And trucks are getting tougher by the second. Particularly, a lot of the wood I'm trading is out of the Pacific Northwest. Clackamas County here in the Portland, Oregon area is the Christmas tree capital of the world. Mm-hmm. And that takes precedent over everything, right? Yep. The classic make hay when the sun shines. Sun is shining right now for the people who grow Christmas trees, and they do not care. They're going to get the freight. They will pay a higher price than lumber consumers are willing to pay for lumber. It's just a fact. And obviously, that's a lot of over-the-road vans, not as much flatbeds, but also on vans. I mean, we're talking gift season too, right? So shipments that are business to business or stocking at Walmart or, years ago, I would have said Toys R Us or, Costco. Places like that are also going to pay a higher price to get their products. They have to, where a lot of lumber folks don't have that same need for immediacy. That's not a word. Immediate shipments on their products. And therefore, it's prices are going up and availability is going down. Do you want to give a quick shout out to the OQM in Napa next week? That's going to be a great event. Justin and I both are excited to see folks there, talk, plan out 2026. So if you see us, definitely stop and say hi, and we'd be happy to give you our 2 cents.
We should be decontaminated by that.
Yeah, by then, and if we're not, we'll be doing our best Bubble Boy impression, just rolling around in giant inflatable orbs as to not contaminate the rest of the group. We should be A-okay by then. So that's the X's and O's of what I'm seeing. Justin, what do you think?
Pretty strong. Yeah. Well, what I'm seeing is I remembered why I got a fake Christmas tree because we went and we've been using a pre-lit fake Christmas tree for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
and went and got 2 trees. We have 8-foot ceilings in our house. So I was like, okay, this can't be too bad. Can't get a very big tree. I mean, I remember the last time we were cutting it, it was like $40 for like a 10, 11-foot tree.
Comes with a hot cocoa.
Well, that's damn near what you're going to pay per foot.
Yep.
So I'm in the wrong business. Get myself a Christmas tree farm. Golly. But there's my bah humbug for the afternoon. I'll try to shower you some more here through the next 3 minutes of nonstop talking. Pretty uneventful 5 weeks since Halloween. The lumber market has been relatively flat overall. I think it's almost 3 consecutive weeks now of a flat print, right? Like literally no change on any items. So again, pretty lethargic trade. With that said, inventories throughout the field have felt and can confirm are pretty low. So the spring buy or all the buying that was really done, it felt like the first half of last year, most folks kind of plowed through that wood through the second half of the year, buying their fill-in stuff along the way. And now it's just full fill-in time mode to try to get through the end of the year, keep inventories lean through the end of December. Now, with that said, the trade has been still there. Kenny mentions like, feels like you're grinding, you need to look up, and, the department had a pretty decent day. And that still seems to be the case. However, it's harder to string consecutive days together like that. But there's activity still in the marketplace. A lot of highly mixed loads, what most folks are looking for. Any sort of volume purchases are very limited. Don't see a lot of those. Production has continued to be scaling out of the market very quietly from a production standpoint. We did have an announcement yesterday out of a mill out of Alabama, an independent mill, roughly about 120 billion board feet production per year, has curtailed 50% of their production, and also unfortunately laid off just over 30 employees from that sawmill. So that stinks. But again, it's just, that's the times we're in, right? With tough pricing, tough trade dynamics. Unfortunately, I think it's going to continue to happen. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, I guess. We're going to have more scheduled downtime as Christmas arrives, and we'll have more scheduled downtime through the end of Christmas through January 1st. So expect that. Some items starting to tighten up a little bit. West side zone on some narrows, 4-inch, starting to tighten on 1 and number 2 grades. Some of the prime links, 14, 16s, low grade, becoming more and more scarce and difficult to source, really through both the central and west side zones and trickling into the east side as well. Stress grade seems to still, for the most part, be readily available. And I'd say, in terms of pricing, print is relatively accurate. There are some spots on some items that are trading at a slight premium. If a mill's got a buildup and they've got excess wood and it's on the ground and they need to move it, there could be on the other side, a slight discount that's being had. So the overall feel throughout the pipeline right now just feels like exhaustion, though. People are just tired, whether it's the sawmills, and this market has just been wearing on everybody. So yeah, it's just where we're at, in the trade. So we're going to continue to plow through it. I do feel like as we get through this month in the latter half, I would expect to start to feel and maybe see some price appreciation. Like right now, if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on prices moving higher through the end of the year and into January versus the latter, because the latter doesn't really exist at this point. And I got to be careful saying that, because this business has taught me anything is possible at any time. And when you don't think it can go any lower, it can. But using everything that I have in my gut, I really do feel like those lean inventories that I mentioned as I started this speaking, I do feel like there's folks that are going to need to start buying a little bit more. And typically they like to start building their inventories as they get into the first of the year and start moving into the spring, especially with this price point at hand. That's kind of my expectation. I think there's the probability, the last I checked was an 87% chance that we're going to get another potential rate reduction from the Fed in December. So we've got that going for us. We've got our current Fed chair, who our current president is not a big fan of, that will be exiting his position. I believe it's May. of next year. The gentleman, of course, that this person has not been named, but kind of there's been some hints to it from the president that his next in line is definitely very pro-economy, housing, and many other things. And so, we'll see what next year brings us, but I wouldn't be shocked to see some things that make us kind of say, whoa. And I think that would be great for our industry. So a lot to look forward to, I think, in the coming year. So
excellent. Well, you touched on most of the things that I would have asked about, so I don't really have any lagging questions, but I do have the thing that I would normally ask, which is, as we head into the holiday season, and you've also both sort of given some of this information, what advice do you have for our component manufacturers before we meet up again in January?
Justin was talking or hitting on a point that I think is super important. And it's the same question everybody's asking is, where's the bottom? How do we know, I want to buy the bottom. I want to start the year right. And it reminds me of a famous lumber quote that one of our veteran traders said in our morning sales meeting the other day. It's a little brash, but it's, he who picks bottom gets stinky finger. And it's so true, because you're going to sit around paralysis by analysis, thinking about, I should do this, I should do that, I should do this. And then the bottom will pass you by. So really, the risk of getting burnt on wood that you buy over the next week is extremely slim, especially out of the West. I can say that very confidently. And I think most years we do this podcast, I am more confident in my conviction in the December episodes, because it really is a consistent theme across all years. So I would just say, do yourself a favor, grab a little extra wood. A railcar web stock makes a great stocking stuffer for those people you love in your family. Not a big deal. And I would just get it done early in December, so you're not worried about that and Christmas shopping on the second half of the month.
Yeah, I would say just be careful. We've fallen into this. It's great to be a consumer of lumber, right? It has been all year. You can get what you want, the stock, the shipment, the tally, and we're losing some control of that, right? We can't do all things all at once, less and less. It feels like every trade, and it's like, well, I've been checking all those boxes for you, sir, but I just can't do it. It's either that or you got to wait 2 weeks. I can do the price, but you got to wait 2 weeks, or if you want it, in 3 days, it's going to be this price. So just know that, stay in front of it, make sure you're tight and what you need and what you've got, with your upcoming needs, and stay in front of it. I was just on the phone with a customer before coming in here and was looking for a truck of material, and it's like, boom, got you covered, exactly what you want, likes the price, it's 2 weeks out. Well, that doesn't work. I need it here quick. And it's like, well, I don't have an option. And then it's like, well, let me see what else I can do and try to find that thing. And then they can't find the thing. And it's like, okay, there it is. But it puts them in a tough spot. But most folks, 95% of the time, haven't been in that spot. And so we get lulled into these comforts. I'm just saying it's shifted a little bit, or a lot. And we're not adding any production right now. So we're going to continue to dwindle down production through the end of the year. And so keep that in mind and stay in front of it. And that would be my advice.
Well, I really appreciate both of you hopping on, feeling under the weather, and I appreciate your commentary from today. I think that will wrap up our episode. Justin and Ken, thank you for your continued expertise and enthusiasm. And thank you all out there for listening to SBCA's podcast, Component Connection. If you've enjoyed this episode and found it valuable, please like and share it with others, and stay up to date and in the know by subscribing to Component Connection on whatever podcast platform you use most.
Thanks for listening to Component Connection, brought to you by SBCA. If there's a topic you'd like us to explore in a future episode, email us at podcast@sbcacomponents.com. Until next time, stay connected.